Let's take a look at some FreeCell strategies and tips. To start off, the first tip we have is that only one move can be undone. What that means is you can hit the F10 key to undo, or just go to game and select undo, but you can only undo your last move. You can't go like 2 or 3 moves back, so keep that in mind. If you've made a few moves, you can't undo them. Another tip we have is to be careful uncovering aces. If we look at this board right here, for example, there's 4 aces in yellow. The first 2 ones are pretty safe to uncover, but if you look at the brown ones that I've highlighted in brown there, those are not so safe going after. You might create some other problems that we'll look at in more detail. Another tip is that you want to try to keep room available for future moves. So if you see this space we've highlighted in yellow up here, you want to try to keep as much of that free as possible, so you have more room to maneuver later in the game and you don't box yourself into a corner. Also, you want to try to limit piles, and by piles I mean this kind of stuff right here. If you can keep it down to 2 or 3 piles early in the game, that gives you more opportunities to remove the other stuff on there. The more piles you have, the less potential moves you have. Obviously it depends on the situation, but try to limit the piles if you can. Now, this is probably the most critical tip and the hardest one to cognitively understand, because it involves a lot of thinking, and that's you want to try to think a few moves ahead. If we look at this board right here, we want to visualize. We don't want to just make 1 or 2 moves and then oops, we shouldn't have done that. We want to try to visualize 3, 4, 5, 6 moves ahead and see if that works and see if we still have space. So if we visualize right here, we have the 3, we can move that underneath the 4. Okay, that's a simple enough move. Now we have the 7, and we can move it underneath the 8, because that'll be open there. And then next we have this 8 and the 7 that are together, and we can just move that underneath the 9 right there. Then we have the red 10. Okay, what can we do with that? We can stick it up top. And if we stick it up top, we still have 2 free green spaces. Well, what can we do next? We can take the queen and we can stick it underneath the black king. So we can take the red queen, stick it underneath the black king. And then we'd like to free up this ace if we can, and stick it up top there, so we have more potential moves. So, okay, well, we just stick the king and we stick it up there temporarily, which we don't want to clog this up because we don't want to fill it up or get close to full because we don't have a lot of moves. We'll stick the king there, and then we can stick it back after the ace goes up top, and then we go ahead and do those moves, and it looks something like this. Our next tip is that unlike the game of solitaire, you cannot take these back. You can take 1 move back with the undo, but you cannot take multiple moves back. What I mean by these are, okay, let's say we stick the 3, these 3s right here, and we want to stick them up top. Okay, well that's fine for 1, but once we do 2 of them, we can't undo the first one. And if we decide, let's say we decide to put the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, the 7s, the 8s, we create a huge imbalance, and that gives us a lot of problems. And unlike the game of solitaire, we cannot take those back off from the pile and put them back in, so that we can actually lose games that we should be winning because we put them up there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now the 3s are okay because they're a low enough number, but we don't want to put higher numbers out there and get big imbalances. Another tip we have here is you want to try to start new piles at the bottom. And what I mean by that is, okay, we have these cards up here. We have these 3 cards up here. We like to try to start new piles with one of those 3 cards as often as possible, or put them on an existing pile, because basically more free cells equals more moves. So more free cells equals more moves, increases our odds of actually completing the game without getting stuck. So that's what we want to try to keep in mind constantly as we're playing the game. Now if we shift gears in this spot and try to think a few moves ahead, okay, we can move the 10 and the 9 underneath and start a new pile right there. Another potential move on this board is, okay, the 4 can go on top of the 3 right up there, and that will obviously clear the ace. Now the 4 of spades can go underneath the 5 of diamonds, and the 2 of diamonds and the 3 of diamonds can pile on top of the ace of diamonds right up top there. Another potential move we have is the black 5 of spades and the 4 of hearts. We can start a new pile right there with those, because we'll have that open space there, and then we can go ahead and start doing that here. So we move the 10, the 9, 4 of clubs, 4 of spades, and we do those moves right there. Now we look at the board again and we try to think, okay, how many can we think a few moves ahead? Will this work? If this doesn't work, you gotta try something else. We want to make sure it conceptually works before we actually do the moves, and so that way we don't get stuck. So I have this pile right here, and I have the 5 and the 4. If I reconstruct the black 7 on the bottom, and then the red 6, and then the 5 of spades, 4 of hearts. Okay, we'll reconstruct that right there, and then the king and queen can be on a separate pile. So we do that. And just keep in mind the starting new piles at the bottom thing. Okay, you want to try to limit piles if you can. So okay, we have this jack and the 10. We can put that underneath the king and queen. We have this jack, 10, 9, 8, 7. We can put this under the king and queen, the red queen of hearts right there. And the reason we can do that is because remember earlier, the more free cells is equal to more moves. We have all these free cells up here, so that allows us to make more moves with piles. If we didn't have that many open free cells up top there, we wouldn't be able to do the last move that I just showed just a second ago. And that's what we constantly want to do when we're making moves. We want to think a few moves ahead, schematic the thing out, and just make sure everything is working before we actually attempt the moves. And then eventually we get lucky, we win the game. And that essentially wraps up our FreeCell strategies and tips. Just keep in mind to try to think things through before you do it, and try to give yourself a lot of space, and all the other tips we've covered. Thank you for watching.